거든요.
Wow, wow, wow.
그래서 뭔가 바닷속에 뭐 감춰진 진실을 파헤치는 달고미와 김동식 감독님이 그걸 촬영을 했고 아마 내년에 KBS에 아마 방영이 될 것 같습니다.
Okay, wow, you got a lot coming forward now. So Yoonjung did say that she would like to kind of make a little bit of a documentary, maybe diving with other office workers, people much like her previous self. Make a documentary with regular people, getting an opportunity to dive with them, but that she has also filmed a documentary in Egypt recently with Kim Dong-sik, director, and that it is kind of about diving in the oceans to various locations and various sunken, treasures that is going to be coming out hopefully next year. So lots to look forward to. I want to thank you so much for joining us here on Culture Crunch today. 오늘 Culture Crunch 나와주셔서 너무 감사드립니다.
너무 감사드립니다. 네.
It's been very fun. Okay, so today we are going to be sending off today's guest with a song. It has been a very fascinating interview today. This is Sun Kiss by Wendy, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
How to survive in Korea. One room. So, you're surviving in Korea if you've signed a contract for a one room. Obviously, you're a pro. But the real deal begins now. Step 1. Housewarming. No need to buy toilet paper, diffusers or hand soap. You'll get them soon enough as housewarming gifts. And some are bound to pile up. There's nothing better to serve your guests than milpaeyu nabe. If you have Korean friends coming over, don't forget the extra garlic. Step 2. Garbage disposal. With great power comes great responsibility. You've had a good time, so let's get to work. It might be tempting to sweep everything into a trash can, but you have to separate your garbage. Not bothered? Beware that negligence is punished with a fine or public humiliation. Step 3. Drying rack. You're excited to live alone in Korea, but the fate of these items, hanger, storage, or a hanger. Go get fresh coffee outside. Jogging doesn't cost anything, and nothing beats instant rice. But keep one item around so that you don't get too lonely. Step 4. Pros of living alone. No mum. Cons of living alone. No mum. A new towel doesn't magically appear. You have to do the laundry regularly. If anyone gives a towel as a souvenir, take it. Get rid of mold immediately. Don't be lazy with the vacuum cleaner. Housework is an endless affair. Overwhelmed? Give your mum a call and thank her for everything she's done. Did you survive in your one room? Wait, you have an unwanted visitor. Call someone you fancy. Could be the right person for the job.
The Korean wave is drawing more fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
President Lee Jae-myung is now on his way to New York to attend this year's UN General Assembly. Eyes are now on the speech he will deliver there, as well as the bilateral meetings he's expected to hold on the sidelines. And President Lee says he's willing to accept a deal where North Korea would freeze nuclear weapons production as an interim step, rather than getting rid of them, saying what matters is restoring trust between the two Koreas. But the North leader Kim Jong-un continues to insist that unification is impossible. The United States is planning to nearly double the ESTA fee for visitors. Starting on September 30th, the cost of the application will be raised from $21 to $40.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung is now on his way to New York. Attention is on his address at the UN General Assembly and whether he will be able to meet with his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump. Our top office correspondent Song Yoo-jin tells us what to watch during his 5-day visit.
South Korea's presidential office says President Lee Jae-myung's trip to New York for this year's United Nations General Assembly will mark his full-fledged debut on the multilateral stage. Lee's first overseas visit after taking office in June was to the G7 summit in Canada, but this time the stage is far bigger, with some 190 heads of state and government expected to attend. While the president has several events lined up during his 5-day trip, 2 stand out. The first will be his address to the UN General Assembly on Tuesday local time.
Through this address, President Lee will declare South Korea's restoration of democracy, outline his administration's vision for the Korean Peninsula, and share how we can contribute to global peace and prosperity.
Much of the attention will be on Lee's message on North Korea as Seoul continues to extend overtures for dialogue despite Pyongyang remaining hostile. Another major highlight will come on Wednesday when President Lee chairs an open debate at the UN Security Council, the first time for any South Korean leader. This was made possible by the country's rotating presidency of the 15-member body this month. The theme will be artificial intelligence, international peace, and security.
Overall, it enhances South Korea's diplomatic standing and provides an opportunity to advocate for issues important to the country and to the broader international community.
Eyes are also on the bilateral meetings Yi will hold on the sidelines. National Security Advisor Lee Seong-rak said the president is expected to meet with leaders of France, Italy, Uzbekistan, the Czech Republic, and Poland. But the big question is, will there be a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump? Lee said no summit is scheduled, but did not rule out an encounter at the UN headquarters. One expert says even a brief exchange could be significant, as ties between Seoul and Washington face uncertainty due to stalled trade negotiations and the recent detention of Korean workers in Georgia.
It would be good to reaffirm the positive chemistry the two leaders showed at the White House last month, even if detailed discussions on tariff deals aren't possible. If they can demonstrate some unity, I believe it could have a positive impact on the negotiations that are currently at a standstill.
President Yi will arrive in New York on Monday local time and return home on Friday. 송유진, Arirang News.
And President Yi says he's open to a deal between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, where Pyongyang would freeze nuclear weapons production, saying it could be a realistic alternative. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un once again made it clear that the two Koreas are completely incompatible entities. Our Park Jun-an explains more.
In a bid to ease long-standing tensions on the Korean peninsula, South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung has suggested what he described as a realistic solution to North Korea's nuclear program, emphasizing a freeze on weapons production over immediate denuclearization. Speaking to the BBC ahead of its departure for the U.S. on Monday to chair a UN Security Council meeting, Yi described such a freeze as an interim emergency measure that could halt Pyongyang's annual production of 15 to 20 additional nuclear weapons. He called the plan a feasible, realistic alternative while maintaining the long-term goal of full denuclearization. President Yi said rebuilding trust between South and North Korea is crucial, particularly given the previous Yoon administration's aggressive approach toward Pyongyang, adding that he believes these steps will encourage the North to resume negotiations. In an interview with Reuters on Friday, Yi said he has sought to ease tensions with North Korea, but Pyongyang has rejected Seoul's outreach, leaving him thoughtful about the near-term prospects for inter-Korean dialogue.
북한이 대화 자체를, 접촉 자체를 아예 거부하고 있기 때문에 남북 간의 소통, 대화, 협력은 당분간은 어려울 것으로 판단이 됩니다.
However, North Korea has been rejecting approaches from the Yi administration with sharp criticism. In a Supreme People's Assembly address over the weekend, Kim Jong-un clarified that unification is impossible and classified the two Koreas as completely incompatible entities that are two separate states with no need for shared endeavors. Kim emphasized that denuclearization is meaningless for North Korea, which declared itself a nuclear power in 2022, vowing never to give up its nuclear arsenal. Despite the hostility towards Seoul, Kim left the door open for talks with Washington. During the address, Kim recalled personal interactions with U.S. President Donald Trump and suggested dialogue could resume if the U.S. abandons its denuclearization fixation and recognizes North Korea as a nuclear state, paving the way for peaceful coexistence. Park Jun-an, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration has announced that it will nearly double the cost of the ESTA application, which allows short-term visits to the United States. This comes after Washington announced last week that it will raise fees for H-1B visas for highly skilled foreign workers to $100,000. Our Lee Seung-jae has the details.
The United States is moving to significantly raise visa-related fees, sparking concern among foreign workers, companies, and travelers alike. The fee for the Electronic System for Travel Authorization, or ESTA, which allows short-term visits of up to 90 days under the Visa Waiver Program, will nearly double. The cost will rise from the current $21 to $40 starting September 30th. The move comes as U.S. authorities tighten visa policies more broadly, affecting not only short-term travelers, but also international students. The ESTA program was used by many of the 316 South Korean workers detained in a large immigration raid at a Georgia battery plant earlier this month. South Korean companies are urging clearer guidelines for business travel, arguing that lengthy U.S. visa procedures are disrupting projects that benefit the American economy. Last Friday, Washington also announced plans to drastically increase fees for H-1B visas, known as specialty occupation visas. Effective as of Sunday, the visa fee has jumped from $1,000 to $100,000. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said last week that the policy was intended to prioritize jobs for Americans, at one point describing the measure as a $100,000 annual fee. The comment caused panic among tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, which rely heavily on foreign talent. Officials later clarified that the fee will be a one-time charge at the initial application stage, not a recurring annual payment. Still, concerns remain. H-1B visas are widely used in IT, medicine, and life sciences, and more than 70% of recipients are Indian nationals. For South Koreans, roughly 2,000 H-1B visas are issued each year. Seoul's foreign ministry says it is reviewing the potential impact of the U.S. changes on Korean workers and companies and will continue communication with Washington. 이승재, Arirang News.
Starting today, eligible recipients can now apply to receive the second round of livelihood recovery consumption coupons, worth around 100,000 Korean won or around $72. However, not all individuals who receive the first round of consumption coupons can sign up for the second round. Only households in the bottom 90% income bracket, based on health insurance contributions, are eligible. For single-person households, the cutoff is 220,000 won in health insurance contributions, and for four-person households, it's 510,000 won. Also not eligible are high-asset individuals with a property tax base of over 1.2 billion won or annual earnings from financial assets exceeding 20 million Korean won. Applications can be made through card companies or local offices until October 31st, and the coupons, valid at small businesses and certain cooperatives, will expire on November 30th. To manage demand during the first week, applicants can only apply on certain days based on the last digit of their birth year, 1 or 6 on Monday, 2 or 7 on Tuesday, and so on. On the cultural front, with APEC 2025 Korea just a month away, the host city Gyeongju is holding several events to promote its cultural heritage. Our An Sung-jin was there.
As APEC 2025 Korea approaches, the host city of Gyeongju is filled with cultural events. And the Silla Kings Festival is just one of them. Hosted by Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, the event aims to promote the 1,000-year-old history of the Silla dynasty, which had Gyeongju as its capital. From trying out hanbok to exploring traditional Korean games, local residents and visitors have come to enjoy the vibrant atmosphere.
We got to try out traditional hanbok.
It was a great chance to understand the history of the Silla dynasty.
We happened to just pass by while walking around, but the music made us curious. It's an interesting experience.
The highlight of the festival was an interactive media performance and Silla-style traditional hanbok showcase, providing a glimpse into the Silla dynasty's history and culture. Further building on the success of this event, the city will be hosting a wider range of programs at its historical sites to further promote the city's cultural heritage and APEC 2025 Korea. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Gyeongju.
Long before K-pop, there was Korean traditional music, K-gugak. South Korea's first ever K-gugak Expo is now underway in Yeongdong-gun County in the very center of South Korea. Our Park Hyo-bin takes us there.
Under the cool autumn breeze, Korea's lively rhythms fill the air. Performers play traditional Korean instruments such as 꽹과리 and 장구 to the beat of 풍물, lifting the spirit of the crowd. The World Traditional Music and Arts Expo has opened in Yeongdong-gun County, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, known as the home of Korea's traditional music. It's also known as the Yeongdong World K-gugak Expo, with K-gugak meaning traditional Korean music.
There are 33 of us here today for the Expo. It's bigger than I expected, and even at the entrance, we were saying how well it's set up. We'll look around some more. I've always loved traditional Korean music.
I really loved it. The atmosphere was so lively, and I'll definitely come back if they hold it again.
It isn't only Korean music that draws attention. A variety of sights, dances, and stage acts paired with traditional sounds captivate visitors. One of them is Bonanori, similar to a plate-spinning show that's part of the UNESCO-listed Intangible Cultural Heritage, Namsadangnori. The basic step known as ipchum, which underlies every movement in Korean dance, highlights the beauty of traditional performance. Alongside these traditional acts, there's also fusion K-gugak that combines Korean heritage with modern music, with more than 200 performances and busking sessions in total. The expo isn't just about Korean sounds. Musicians from 30 countries, including China, Russia, and the Czech Republic, are sharing their instruments and performances, creating a true cross-cultural stage. The organizing committee says it hopes this exchange will broaden appreciation for world traditions and help K-gugak reach a wider global audience.
The Expo is not only Korea's first, but also the first of its kind worldwide. Here, you can experience the past, present, and future of Korean traditional music and enjoy outstanding dance and music from 30 invited countries, all in one place.
The expo shows that tradition, when shared, can become a language the whole world understands. The Yeongdong World K-gugak Expo runs until October 11th, bringing Korea and the world together through music. Park Hyubin, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The United Kingdom and Canada became the first G7 countries to formally recognize the state of Palestine, with Australia and Portugal also announcing their recognition. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced the UK's recognition of Palestinian statehood in a video statement on Sunday, calling it a moral responsibility aimed at reviving hope for peace for both the Palestinians and Israelis. The UK Foreign Office stated that this recognition is based on the 1967 borders. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese expressed similar sentiments, indicating that this recognition aligns with Australia's long-standing support for a two-state solution. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney also issued a statement emphasizing that the recognition aims to empower those who seek peaceful coexistence. And Portuguese Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel expressed a desire to strengthen the deep friendship between the Israeli people and the renewed relations with the Palestinian people. However, Israel has strongly condemned these recognitions. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described them as a huge reward for terrorism. Meanwhile, Hamas has welcomed the move, viewing it as validation of the Palestinian struggle, while the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas praised the recognition as a vital step toward lasting peace. Tensions are rising in the Netherlands just over a month ahead of its snap general election as police in The Hague violently clashed with anti-immigration protesters, demanding stricter asylum policies. On Saturday, a protest organized by a right-wing activist drew approximately 1,500 people to The Hague, with demonstrators expressing their dissatisfaction with current asylum policies and calling for tighter immigration control. Protesters threw rocks and bottles, blocked a highway, set a police car on fire, and also attempted to advance towards the Dutch Parliament complex. In response, authorities deployed tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd. 2 police officers were injured and around 30 individuals were arrested. Prime Minister Dick Schoof condemned the violence, describing the events as shocking and bizarre. Immigration remains a significant rallying point ahead of the October 29th elections, reflecting growing polarization and frustration in the country. In the Philippines, police and anti-corruption protesters clashed on the streets of the capital Manila on Sunday. Tens of thousands gathered near the presidential palace, demanding accountability for alleged corruption in flood control projects worth over $9.5 billion. Several people were arrested for throwing rocks, bottles, and even firebombs, and dozens of police officers were injured. Similar anti-corruption protests have recently emerged in other parts of Asia, including Nepal, where protests have been led by Gen Z activists. In Indonesia, protests focused on addressing corrupt elites, and in East Timor, citizens demanded transparent governance. In Paris, France, waiters and waitresses dressed in full work attire raced through the capital city on Sunday, carrying trays balanced with a cup of coffee, a croissant, and a glass of water. In the traditional cafe race, a 4-kilometer race revived last year after over a decade-long hiatus. The goal is to finish the race quickly without spilling anything. One drop of water or a slight tilt to the tray can result in time penalties. Organizers say the race is a tribute to cafe culture in Paris, meaning both as entertainment and as recognition of the demanding work undertaken by serving staff. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
The chilly air we're feeling in the mornings and evenings is a clear sign that autumn is here. A wide temperature gap will once again develop during the day. Areas including Chuncheon could see a temperature difference of over 10 degrees Celsius during the day. And please keep an eye out for strong winds, especially near the south coast in Jeju, where gusts could reach 15 to 20 meters per second. Meanwhile, we need to be extra careful with high swells along the east coast. Most regions will be under partly sunny skies with lingering rain on Jeju through this morning. Then highs will get up to 28 degrees on the island. Seoul, Daejeon, Daegu, Gyeongju will be all topping out at 25 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead, rain will begin on the south coast in Jeju tomorrow, spreading to the entire country by Wednesday. And then temperatures will drop to 23 degrees on Wednesday. So please do dress accordingly not to catch a cold.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.
Feeling overwhelmed by a busy life without knowing where you are heading.
Realizing your mind has gone completely blank.